Sandro Salsano is a self-made businessman and a philanthropist.
President and Chairman of the Salsana Group, Chairman of Salsano Family Office, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Salana Sahani Foundation.
Salsano Group is a multi-billion-dollar company investing in private equity, venture capital, and real estate globally.
When you are so blessed and so lucky and so privileged, I think that we know that then we have a responsibility, right? And you need to, and so you have a mission to give back or inspire other people and improve other people's lives. Cadi 7 volte, rialzati 8. And I think it's just beautiful if you can go to bed and say, okay, I had a very bad day, but I will keep the faith, tomorrow will be a better day, and I'll work hard, something positive will come up. So I think I think it's beautiful to have that kind of resilience and faith.
This Medal of Honor was originally issued to Robert Charles Duncan Graves. So this is an original campaign service medal. Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute takes pleasure in honoring Mr. Sandro Salsano with good fellow recognition for his contribution to the world.
We have today with us Mr. Sandro Salsano, President and Chairman of the Salsana Group, Chairman of Salsano Family Office, World Economic Forum as Young Global Leader, part of the Milken Institute Young Leaders Circle, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Salana Sahani Foundation, Chairman for Panama Global Dignity, on the Steering Committee of 1640 Society. It's an honor to welcome on stage Mr. Sandro Salsano, a remarkable person whose resounding success in the business world has led to many accolades. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being a part of the Good Talk. Your life started in the beautiful town in Italy with a teacher for a mother is a teacher and the father worked in the railways. What are your fondest memories of those times?
Well, I was very lucky because I had lots of love from my family when I was a kid. My parents were working very hard, so I was actually raised by my grandmother. And she was a very simple woman, so she was very simple and just very hardworking. So I think that I saw that from my grandmother and my family, really what it meant, working very hard, starting very young, starting very early as well. And in a way, I think it's something that I cherish today a lot because I learned to respect really the sacrifices they made for me, for my sister. So I have a sister, so we were two in the family. And I was in Italy as a kid, so I was really into sports. So I really wanted to become a basketball player, and in a way, that sport was a way to stay out from troubles.
Can you share some of your childhood experiences that influenced you over a period of time to reach where you are in your life?
Sure. When I was a kid, I was always, so there was definitely sport. So my dream was to become, an Italian Michael Jordan. So that was my dream as a kid. I wasn't that bad, actually. I ended up being the captain of the Italian team, under 18. So I was actually okay. But then I went to study. So, my dad actually came to me and he told me, look, you could become a good player, but, there is no money so it was very honest with me. And of course I was crying. It was not good news, but I respected him a lot, and obviously I listened to him. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to study, and I went to Milan. But when I was, I remember, even before university, I was always reading about investment. So, I remember I was fascinated by, Warren Buffett, and really I think that there are certain people that really inspires you, and really, since you're a kid, and even today, I think we all have mentors or people that in different ways, they make us grow, and they inspire us, right, at different level. So we really thrive and really try to become better people. No? So I think this is really the journey, really trying to have a marginal improvement, even every day. So this is, I think, the way I always looked at my journey since I was, a kid, really.
What's the transition between an Italy to Panama? What made you?
Yes.
What made you to make a decision, such a drastic decision in your life?
I don't know we have enough time, but I can tell you definitely it was definitely love. So I met my wife. My wife is Panamanian. So actually, when I went to Panama the first time, I'd sold my company to Goldman Sachs. So I actually set up a family office, and I was in Miami. So a family invited me to Panama, and Panama was trading at a big discount to Miami in terms of real estate. So it was interesting. Come and check it out. There is the currency is the US dollars. The economy, I think, was growing double digit. The GDP was growing double digit. Obviously, very strong in logistics. It's a big hub for the Americas and for the global trade. So I wasn't planning actually to stay. But then I was visiting Panama, and then I met my father-in-law, who was actually originally from India. So actually, he was born in Panama, but his father he immigrated from India to Panama. And so he invited me to his conference room. So, he's a big guy there, so he wanted to impress me. He had built this conglomerate from mining to cement to real estate development. So I remember that, he was showing me all these projects, he said, I own, so it was, and he would own half of Panama, half of the land and half of the projects, of the mega projects there. And then my wife comes in the conference room, and, she studied in Italy, Switzerland, so she could speak Italian to me. And so I was very impressed, so obviously I liked her, but I wasn't sure. I thought she was actually a salesperson. I didn't know that she was, the daughter of my future father-in-law. And it was funny because then, the next day he invites me to their golf course. So he was doing, he's a developer, so he likes to do the show, with his helicopters, so all the toys. And my wife was there, so I wasn't expecting her. So I thought, maybe she likes me. But I was very proper. I didn't want to invite her out because I said, if I do business, I didn't want to mix it. But then she asked me if I knew Panama, if I wanted to go out. So long story short, we started going out. And then we've been now married 10 years. We have 2 beautiful kids, dog, a golden retriever. so that's the...
God bless. Really, thank you so much for sharing your personal side of the story. We really appreciate that on this dais. What ways you believe people have influenced and shaped the world around them? And how do you perceive impact of individual in a social development?
I think each of us can have an impact on somebody else. So it really starts, I think, the way I look at it, for me, it really starts with my kids, of course, right? Because obviously they look at me, my son wants to imitate me, he wants to do exactly what I do. And my little one, my daughter as well. So it really starts, I think, with the family. And then really for the people around you. And I think each of us, it doesn't matter if you're a head of state or a CEO of a company or a global leader, or it doesn't really matter your job. You can always have an impact on somebody who is close to you. And I think that at the end, is really your actions will define you. So, that is for me. So this morning, for example, I was having an interview with Forbes, and they asked me, what is my definition of success? And they put me on the list and all that, but I said, look, this is not the definition of success for me. For me, it's my family, right? So, and really, I told them that there was a joke that I heard once, which was, when you die, if your parking lot was full, it meant you had a good life, right? And that's probably a good way to put it. I was lucky to have great mentors. One unfortunately passed away was Charlie Munger, and he always told me, really, the way you live your life is really what inspires other people. And so it's really your actions that I think that can have an impact. And it doesn't matter if you think it's small or big. It can be very actually big for the other person. Just because of your actions, they are looking at you, right? So each of us has a responsibility.
You are an investor. You have been in the form of an entrepreneur. You currently as a thought leader as well as a businessman, successful businessman. The whole journey, you came across the journey with different things in your life. If you have to choose something that you want to do rest of your life, what would you choose?
That I want to do the rest of my life.
Yes.
There would definitely be philanthropy, because I think that for me, the biggest joy is really the foundation I co-founded with my wife. So we work with about 10,000 kids in Central Latin America, and we've been actually bringing some of the projects that work very well. One, for example, was a good friend, Prince Haakon of Norway, Global Dignity. We did the Global Teacher Prize. Obviously, it was close to my heart because of my mom. With the Varki Foundation from here, from Dubai. We always look at projects that actually were successful, and we try to tropicalize them and apply them in our region, which is Central Latin America. And the biggest joy for me is really when you see, I'll give you a short story if you have time. We worked with one of the projects we did was with a very talented artist called Olga Sinclair. She just had actually an event my kids went to a few days ago in Panama with over 5,000 kids. And 1 year they were painting Modigliani. So there was a prize that we sponsored with my wife. And the winners, they had a trip to see the Pope. So they had to go to Rome. And before that, there was a trip to Amsterdam. So they would visit some museum first, and then we went to the Vatican. And to me, it was one of the most beautiful experiences because, you can imagine the logistic with 50 kids in the center of Rome just to buy a pizza, right? But really, they never traveled before, so their parents were very nervous because it was their first trip abroad. And of course, they had no idea what to expect, right? I mean, they went to the Sistine Chapel and there was nobody because, we had lots of help from the ambassador, so they thought it was normal, right? Obviously, it was not normal. For me, it was amazing because, they all have my WhatsApp and they would write me, they call me Tio, which is uncle, Sandro. And they say, look, I want to become an engineer, I want to become an artist. So really, the fact that I can see that that trip opened their eyes and their mind, and they're really dreaming of something bigger than their reality. So they're really something that really moves me. And so if I can really inspire even one kid, I think it's just beautiful. So this is really what brings me lots of joy. Because after a while, I think that we all go through, and you're an entrepreneur, we go through lots of frustrations and lots of disappointments and embarrassments and failures, right? And people think that, you're 10 years overnight success, but it's not like that, right? So obviously, I think that when you are so blessed and so lucky and so privileged, I think that we know that then we have a responsibility, right? And you need to, and so you have a mission to give back or inspire other people and improve other people's lives. And so this is the way I look at it. I've been, so going back to the guys at Forbes, I told them, look, the biggest joy is really when you give back because we have been so fortunate. My kids as well, they are very privileged, of course, right? So, for example, I take them with my wife to the orphanages, for example, right? And for me, it's beautiful to see that they have a very good heart. And they ask tough questions, right? For example, we go to an orphanage, my son is 4, he has got his Iron Man, so he's into dinosaurs and into superhero now, right? So at night, I read him stories about dinosaurs, superhero, and we go to see the kids. And one of the questions was, why they don't have a father? And of course, I didn't know what to answer. And then for a second, I remembered actually reading the stories that most of the superheroes don't have a father, actually. So I replied to him, I said, well, they are superheroes. And he looked at me and was like, oh, really? He said, can I become a superhero? I'm like, of course you can, if you are a good person, if you are kind, if you are generous. And then I see him, I have to say, you have a 4 and a 2 years old, so
yes.
You understand it very well. He's very jealous. He's a bit jealous with my little one, my daughter. So he doesn't like to share much with her. There's obviously he was the first one. And then we were in this orphanage. He gave his favorite Iron Man to another kid. So I was really crying. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And because I was like, wow, so this is something. That is the definition for me of success. So if I can raise a good kid, and to have very good kids, that would be for me,
Who is your inspiration?
When I was a kid, it was Michael Jordan. But then on the business side, guys like Milken, Mike is a good mentor, a good friend. Charlie Munger has been a good friend and mentor. Charlie was so generous with his time. in his 90s, I would go to LA. We would have 3 hours, 4 hours breakfast with lots of unhealthy food. And so for me, it was really a privilege because, we would talk about anything from Latin America to China, Alibaba, Jack Ma, Warren, etc. Really, I think what I really loved about him was that, he never really envied anybody, right? He was always saying, look, this is very bad if you compare yourself with others, if you have resentment, envy. Because at the end of the day, it's your journey, right? And if you look at US, especially in America, I see that there is lots of competition. It's very unhealthy because people they always want to be better than others, but in reality, that's not a healthy competition, right? Because you only compete with yourself, I think. And so Charlie was really humbling for me because he was just so kind and generous, and obviously his wit and and his humor, so we would laugh for hours. I guess before that, obviously, it was my parents, my grandmother, my parents. There's been, let's say, really the rocks, right? They've been with me, and they're still alive, thanks God, in good health. So I think this is my father-in-law, who is Indian, as I mentioned to you, has been also a great mentor, second father. He taught me a lot, especially in Panama. And he's the king of logistics there. He did a lot in industrial and real estate, but also in other sectors, from banking, aviation, etc. So I think I've been very lucky. I had a few.
I want to understand about your Clean Ocean initiative, that you are passionate about creating vertical farms and clean oceans. What is that clean ocean side for you? What inspired you to get into this? And where are you heading towards on that space?
I was lucky because 10 years ago, I was named Young Global Leader, and it's a very cool group. There are guys like Elon Musk, there is Jack Ma, DiCaprio, and one of the guys that really impressed me was Enrique Sala. So Enrique is a Spanish guy, and we became very good friends. He was with National Geographic at the time. And so when I was talking to him, I discovered actually he was spending most of his time diving. He would be like, all over the world diving. And I always loved diving since I was 18. I started diving myself. Actually, I learned in the Maldives the first time, so I was very spoiled. And so he was showing me really, how polluted were the oceans and the projects he was doing. So for me, it was really, now he joined my board like 5 years ago, but really was really trying to help him. And really, behind the scene, obviously we invested in some startups, but also I think we were lucky to influence some presidents, especially in Central Latin America. We were able to push them to sign actually a treaty where Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, and others could actually build a big reserve. So effectively, you can't be fishing there, sharks, or you can't be polluting oceans. And we are trying to do it in more countries. So I think I've been traveling a lot, and we do some with Eric and also with other non-profit. We went to Antarctica. We went to different places, and really I realized that that it's a real issue. And obviously, I would love my kids to see beautiful things and not having the ocean. And in a way, even in Panama City, there are some beautiful islands in the Caribbean side. But then you have, near the canal, you have obviously the current will bring in also some plastic, and so obviously it's a big issue. It's a big issue, and it's a global issue, of course.
My last question to you, sir. What's your favorite quote? You still speak Italian?
Yes.
So I would like to hear an Italian quote from you. What's your favorite Italian quote? Why?
In Italian it would be cadi 7 volte, rialzati 8. It's not an Italian quote, but I really love it because it says, I think it's really important that each of us, has faith and the resilience, because, especially on business and life, you'll have lots of challenges, right? And I think it's just beautiful if you can go to bed and say, okay, I had a very bad day, but, I will keep the faith, tomorrow will be a better day, and I'll work hard, something positive will come up. So I think I think it's beautiful to have that kind of resilience and faith, which which is something you can determine. So it's not something that you get it from the outside. So you really need to make a commitment saying, okay, I want to have that faith. And so if I fall, I'll stand up.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sandro Salsano. You are a huge inspiration, not only to the young people, but to the budding business people everywhere in the world. It has been an honor and pleasure to have you on the dais today.
My pleasure.
Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, please join me in celebrating the life and the work of Mr. Sandro Salsano. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Another photo. Okay.